Not sure how to ask this question, but let me give it a try. First off, it would be interesting to understand how much further upside and growth do you see just working with your current major customer, which is the U.S. government. And a follow on to that is many critical systems moving to a cloud native environment with significant distribution of software also can significantly benefit from an air gapped, highly secure deployment, continual deployment environment. Let's take telco, for instance, and the edge and IoT tied to those. These are all places where that could very well be a new market opportunity for a tool set and a value chain and a marketplace like what you described, totally separate from the national security that you've started on. What do you see as the growth pattern to where you are right now with your customer base? And are you contemplating or have you contemplated other significant industries as they continue to evolve?
Yeah, that's a much better question for my CEO. So if he ever listens to this, I want him to know that. Because I will say, as I've learned about product leadership, it's tied hand in hand to what I'll call go to market, which is another buzzwordy overloaded term. But you have to, when you're building product, you have to understand how it's going to be promoted, priced, placed, distributed. And so I do think I do spend a lot of time thinking about this. We actually served a lot of what I'll call regulated markets to include financial and healthcare when we first started. It's not that that wasn't the right thing for us. It's just that we recruited people here that were defense minded, and then we put them on the other contracts and they like weren't happy. And so it became, again, it's not about customers. It was more a mismatch of our marketing and recruitment and our customer base. So like no fault of anybody. We just had to kind of make a pivot there because at the end of the day, our software developers are our critical asset. And if they're not happy, we were willing to walk away from lucrative work to keep the people happy. And I hope that's a thing at Defense Unicorns that never goes away. But to your point, like as we grow and expand, I would not be surprised if we found other markets again, right? But we would have to, this time, like the lesson learned for me is like we would have to change our recruiting strategy and maybe even business segmentation and a lot of, COO, CFO type words that I'm probably not even familiar with, but I would support. But I'll give you an example, right? Like we know the like veteran affairs, that's not Department of Defense, National Security. A lot of us at this company are veterans and deeply care that they get served well. And so we would be very happy to work with veteran affairs like tomorrow. And I just think that'll stack in other areas. You see fintech in particular, finance and healthcare really need as underserved markets, but also the Department of Energy, right? Like the Department of Energy is running very critical. I was in San Antonio in 2021 and I'm a Midwesterner, so I'm used to snow. It snowed there for 2 days and I lost power for 4 days. And if you want to remind yourself what chaos really is, be anywhere where there's no power for 4 days, especially in a place where they've never lost power before. And all of a sudden, like it's Hunger Games in the streets. You can't even, like all the gas stations were shut down, the grocery stores. You can't get food, you can't get gas. People get real squirrely real fast. And so Department of Energy, right? Like I think eventually, like these are all critical infrastructure things that need the same type of services. That's why I think one of our passions, I think we align really well with OpenSSF because their mission is really about securing open source. And when I think about Defense Unicorns and what we do, it's very similar. And we are working with them because they're a nonprofit trying to get like defense people that are active to come come talk, because there's like an ecosystem of really bright people creating good things. And then there's people creating policy and they're not talking to each other. And then there's vendors like ourselves being left in the middle trying to satisfy two different similar but different things. And it starts depleting the business case, right? Then you're like, well, I don't want to work with those people because we can't stay profitable if we do it. And so going back to that like ecosystem building and open source, like we've really been trying to double down with OpenSSF as they grow, like, hey, can we get some of our networking customers to come be a part of the nonprofit discussion so that we can sit around the same table twice a year and be like, hey, you guys are doing salsa, we're doing other things. Like, can we make it all the same? Because it's 90% the same. You guys just aren't talking to each other, right? And you know how frustrating that can be when you're trying to keep two different customer segments happy, right?
Yep.